Good. Science test हुआ अभी recently?
सर कौन मैम कौन सा
paper you got? Zed को 7.5 मिला.
मैम 8 मिला.
So you take a first
एक किसको मिला रॉय?
आया देखो कितना
अगली बार 8.3 8.4 8.5 तो देखना मतलब एक्सरसाइज करके क्या था 8.2
Which chapter will be going to the text volume? Which page you tell me? Improvement in food resources we were doing. Look at the chapter. What page? Tell me. Page number bolo.
149.
This is all. Which was the last topic? We were page number. Resources we were into that chapter.
कैंसिल हो गया
बट हमें ये
और मेल ऐसे आएगा तो कोई लिखा ही नहीं ना तभी क्या कर सकते हैं अपडेट करेंगे तो आएगा ना
The last topic that we were studying was Were you there the last class?
Irrigation.
No, I think manure, fertilizer, that got already done.
Irrigation. After irrigation.
I gave you some questions also, I think, on this, no? Irrigation, why is irrigation necessary? Okay. Before class, the other day, no? Follow page number, page number
148.
Now let us discuss on this. The next part is we were talking about crop protection. No? From there we were talking about.
Yes.
We had already discussed with this part. I'll again go through this. See now. All of it. Last class we had completed with this topic, that is for production, what is necessary? For production, the plant should be getting adequate amount of nutrients. So we were just discussing that. And what we said, what type of nutrients would a plant basically require? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. We were discussing certain primary nutrients. And how would the nutrients be given now to a plant, either in the form of manure or in the form of fertilizer? And the essential, the different type of nutrients which are present in the manure and the fertilizer, that part also we discussed. And we were also understanding that what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using manure and fertilizer. So when we are talking about using manure, what are some of the advantages? If you write some answers there, what are some of the advantages of using manure? What are some of the disadvantages? Who was present all through us? You were not there the other day? You were there. You was also there. Did I give you these answers to be written down?
आपने बस टिक कराया. You just made a mistake.
important part. Acha, likho, at least some few questions you should write so that you understand that these are important questions. So, ma'am,
आपने टिक कराया.
acha, chalo. Let us write 5 questions from this part. If there's anything you can clarify. The first question you are going to write down from this part. The first question that you write would be mention have a doubt. I'll start discussing all the answers. Okay. Mention two prominent systems of irrigation. Mention two prominent system. Why? What happened? Why your hairs are not even combed? Why you come to the class? Sleepy? You feel sleepy? You are sick? Now, chalo. What is the first answer? Some of you must have already finished writing this. Mention the advantage of using manure. What to write? I asked you to write 2 points. Mention the advantage of using manure. What would you write? Advantage. First point.
That it doesn't damage the soil like fertilizer.
It is eco-friendly. Improves the soil texture.
No, see, eco-friendly is a word which we use, but that is not a very easy. That's an easy term, but write proper points. Mention the advantage of using manure. Number one.
It enriches the soil.
Manure, yes.
And
It enriches the soil.
It doesn't have
The first point, right, good point. Again, I mentioned The first point, yes, it enriches the soil, meaning it provides nourishment, nutrients to the soil,
It's cheaper
and
it
provides
improves the
nourishment to
soil
the soil,
It doesn't harm
and
the
does not result in the or does not harm the microbes of the soil.
all the organic.
So the first point that you can write, I'll mention some 2-3 points. What are some of the advantages that you have learned also in this chapter? It provides adequate nutrients to the soil without, or let us write that as the second one. It provides adequate nutrients to the soil and can be used for a long period of time. Can be used for continuously. You can use every season. You can use manure. Is it harming the soil? No. It provides nutrients to the soil and can be used for long periods. You can use manure for long periods. Another point, second point you can write, manure increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Manure also increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Manure increases the water holding capacity of the soil and makes the soil fertile. I said manure provides nutrients to the soil. Provides nutrients to the soil and can be used for long periods. On a particular land, you can use manure for years. Nothing is going to have, no disadvantage is going to happen. The second point I said, improves the water holding capacity of the soil, making the soil fertile. Third point, I'm mentioning 3, 4, you can write any 2 or you can write 2, 3. Does not harm the soil microbes at all. It is not harming the soil microbes at all.
It improves the water holding
capacity of the soil.
So it's making it fertile.
Hence making it.
And makes it fertile. Difference between intercropping and mixed crop. What is humus?
Humus is the natural organic matter of human waste and human for manure we considered humus helps in improving the texture soil physically.
For fairly liquid, what is humus? What is humus?
For the first
Organic matter. I have a question. What is the difference between a manure and humus?
There is, when you are talking about manure is being made manually. Human hands are involved in the making of the manure. Humus is naturally happening, that is one. At the same time, when you are talking about humus, you would always write that it is the topmost fertile soil of the earth, or it is the topmost layer of the soil. Humus is the topmost layer of the soil always, but manure is not the layer of the soil. So humus is the naturally found topmost layer of the soil containing the decomposed plant and animal matter. It contains decomposed plant and animal matter. I go back to this. Are you done? All of you done with this?
No. Can you repeat the first point?
First point I said humus. Manure, I'm sorry. I said manure provides nourishment, nutrients to the soil and can be used for long period. Indefinite periods you can use. Can be used for indefinite period of time. Long period of time. Then I said that it can increase the water holding capacity, providing nourishment and making the soil fertile. So that's the second point. Does not harm. The third point I said it doesn't harm the microbes, soil microbes. This is the advantage I'm talking about. Manure. You may also get a question, write some features of manure. तो और कौन से points तुम लिख सकते हो features अगर पूछा है. Now you write about the characteristics of manure. Just try to understand what I'm telling you. In your question paper, either you get advantage to be written or you get characteristics to be written. Now I ask you characteristics लिखना, advantages नहीं लिखना. I'm asking you write few characteristics of manure, 3 marks. Can I write this point that the manure contains, or the chunks of manure are or take a long time for the process of solubility in the water. The chunks are irregular and dissolve in the water for takes a long time for getting dissolved in the water. Another property, another characteristic, I'm writing the second, that after the application of manure, the growth of the plant would not be immediate. So the growth of the plant will be observed after a long period of time. Why? Because the chunks and the molecules take a longer time to get dissolved in the water. So are these advantages that I can write? No. These are not advantages. These points you cannot write. And these points also we discussed, no? That when I am applying manure, when I am applying fertilizer, the molecules and the grains, very fast they get dissolved in the water. Plants absorb them very fast. So the absorption of manure is faster, fertilizer is fast. Fertilizer. So the manure is absorbed much slower. So the growth is also much slower. So that would not be advantageous, not to write all these points. Come to the second one. What are some disadvantages of using fertilizer? One disadvantage.
It cannot be used.
One at a time. One at a time. No chorus singing. One at a time.
It can destroy the soil fertility.
Disadvantages. Fertilizers. If fertilizers are used over a long period of time, they destroy soil microbes. Right answers mature. If fertilizers are used for a long period of time, they destroy soil microbes. They destroy soil microbes. Second point. If fertilizers are used over a long period of time, if fertilizers are used over a long period of time, today you are in the north and he is in the south, how come? दोस्ती खत्म हो गया?
Are used.
Arman, you first clarify my doubt. ऐसे कैसे both of you are so widely separated?
बहुत लोग बैठे थे इसलिए मैं यहाँ बैठ गया।
अच्छा, friendship है ना अभी?
आप एक में वापस आते हैं।
आओ, second period में disturb करने वाला। Now, when we are talking about the next, I said disadvantage. The first disadvantage, what I said, are used over a long period of time. The soil microbes are destroyed. Soil microbes are destroyed. Soil microbes are destroyed, thus decreasing the fertility of soil. Thus decreasing fertility of soil. Number two, what is the other disadvantage? Tell me.
It pollutes the ground.
If fertilizers pollute the groundwater, touching the water table. Fertilizers pollute the groundwater, also touching the water table, the water level which is down deeper, also touching the water table. Groundwater, thus touching the water table. Pollute the ground water. Second standard mein ho na. Fertilizers pollute. Your teachers don't give dictation like this. So, dictate देती है क्या बोर्ड में? Fertilizers pollute groundwater and touches the water table. Water table किसको कहते हैं? एकदम नीचे जो among the level of the water, deep down.
If fertilizers are used over a long period of time, soil microbes are destroyed. Instead of replenishing the soil fertility.
If fertilizers are used for a long period of time, soil microbes are destroyed, thus increasing soil fertility. What is it? Thus decreasing soil fertility. Thus decreasing soil fertility. Okay. Now, what is the next I told you? Some disadvantage. Now, is that answer over for all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that? I already discussed 2 points. So this is done. No, all of you come to the third. Mention 2 prominent systems of irrigation. What are the systems of irrigation? Wells. So which are the most common that is happening in India? Wells. Irrigation. Canals are there. Wells are there. Tanks. सबसे common, सबसे common canals, wells, drip. ये सबसे 3 बहुत common है. Almost in every part of the country wherever agriculture is there, this is common. River lift not in certain regions. So the most common ones are wells, drip irrigation, canals. Canals बहुत common, wells and canals very common. What is the Difference between intercropping, mixed cropping. किसको याद है? Intercropping, mixed cropping याद है? Systems of irrigation. Mention the progress.
इसमें क्या एडवर्टाइजिंग
And I know the mixed cropping, but
Who remembers intercropping और mixed cropping में difference क्या है?
intercropping is growing of two or more.
लिखा है
What is it saying?
देखिए बोल रही है.
तुमने भी तो लिखा था.
देखते ही बोलना है, बोलो तो
Ma'am, it is the growing of two or more crops simultaneously in the
You are a
same
movie
land.
against standard for next year.
I'm growing of two or more crops simultaneously on the same land but with different pattern. And mixed cropping is growing of two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land.
If it is intercropping, this is a land in a specific pattern. एक column ये, एक column ये. Something like if I say that this is cabbage and maybe now this is cauliflower. This is cabbage, cauliflower. अगर intercropping है तो यहाँ पे मुझे क्या लगाना चाहिए? Say suppose cabbage again. So there's if I talk about that यहाँ पे cabbage है and then cauliflower है and again cabbage है and again cauliflower है. If I am maintaining a particular pattern in the entire land, then this is what is intercropping. I can try with 3, I can try with 4, but a particular sequence में ही करना है. I may talk about not necessarily like this. I may talk about I divide the land like this. तो यहाँ पे A है, B है, C है, then cropping should be different, but similar types again.
Should be same cropping.
So A, B, C है, then I should again try A, B, and C. So what is this? This is called intercropping. This is called intercropping. So can I try growing any type of crops? No, almost related types, and at the same time try to see that the soil is applicable for A also, B also, C also. Can I choose a type of, or can I choose A which grows best in loamy soil? This is loamy, but I am choosing A which is good for loamy. I am choosing B which is good for red, and I am choosing C which is good for sandy. Will this work out? So I have to know, I cannot choose B and C in that case. I have to choose A and B and C in such a way that all should be growing in loamy because my soil is loamy. So I have to first of all select the plants in such a way that all the 3 types, all the 4 types are growing in the same season. All the 4 types should be growing in the same type of soil, but at the same time they should be different. Cabbage है, cauliflower है, capsicum है, chili है. They are growing almost at the same season, related types, and still they are different. Now, why should we select different? We should select different because the nutrient requirements for each type of plants are different. If I talk about A and B and C, I select where I understand that A requires more of sodium and potassium. And B requires sodium also and zinc also and chlorine also. And C requires magnesium and manganese and zinc and then potassium. So are the nutrient requirements for all of them the same? No. Should I select? Yes, I can select. If the nutrient requirements for all the 3, say suppose I understand A needs potassium and sodium and chloride. And B needs potassium and sodium, potassium and chlorides. C also needs high amount of sodium, potassium and chlorides. Can I select then A, B, C? Then that is not the right choice. Why not? Then only these 3 nutrients of the soil is getting used up and the rest of the nutrients are just going waste. So now what is happening? And that also, if A is a bigger type of a plant and it has got wide out roots, then it is absorbing almost 70% of the sodium, potassium, chloride, and the growth of B will be lesser, C will be even lesser. So why should not we select plants which has got same nutrient requirement, because in that case there will be a competition. And the plants which has got spread out root system, they will be the ones which will survive much better. The plants which has got comparatively lesser spread out root system, they will not be able to survive and the growth will be stunted. So we have to choose a plant which has got requirement for sodium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, and we have to choose another one which has got nutrient requirements of sodium, potassium, chloride, manganese, etc. So different nutrients, so that all the nutrients are used up in the soil and there is not too much of a competition. Why again this pattern? I talk about a type of parasite. I talk about a type of a parasite which is spreading up in this part of the soil. Even if this is spreading up in the part of the soil, this particular parasite can harm this, but this particular parasite, even if it enters, no, bee does not get harmed by such type of a parasite at all. What about C? C also does not remain harmed by this type of a parasite at all. So even if a part of a plant, even if a part of a soil has been infested by worms or parasites or fungus or etc., any type of a disease-causing organism, maybe only one type of a crop, yes, the farmer is at a loss of these type of crops this season. By the time harvest, all the crops gone, wasted by the pest. But what about these two? These two crops are still there. He can still market them. No, he can still get adequate amount of economy. So now, why to select the bolo?
Like there are three crops, all need like sodium, and then there are different nutrients. Like sodium is used the most. So with the
so sodium. I gave you an example of sodium because most of the nutrients will always have sodium, potassium, and sodium, potassium, chloride in adequate amount. So phosphorus, sodium, potassium are majorly the type of nutrients which are there.
but all the crops need like sodium.
But sodium is a macronutrient. Sodium is as it is a macronutrient. So most of the plants you will come across, they need this. But at the same time, you also have to understand that if there's a
My question is that will they grow or the growth will be like simultaneous with its top?
That is what I'm saying. That even though I understand that all the three require sodium as a macronutrient, then should there be any stunted growth for any type of a plant? Generally may not be, because even if there's a little bit of a shortage for sodium, the other type of nutrients are still there. I mean, the other type of nutrients are not exactly the same that is needed for A and B. The other type of nutrients for C and B, again, not exactly the same. So, एक आध nutrient may be having a competition. But the other different types of nutrients, they are getting inadequate. So, that may not result in. Now, see, for us also, we may be suffering from one or two type of nutrient deficiency. Does that make us absolutely unhealthy? No, that is not making us absolutely unhealthy. So that's the reason. That is the same thing in plants also. Even if there is one or two type of nutrients or above crops, that will not result. But if sare nutrients, 5 types of nutrients, and all 5 are deficient in a plant, then obviously the plant will suffer from rolling of the leaves, yellowing of the leaves, stunted growth, delayed germination, delayed fruiting and seeding. All this they will suffer from. So now let us write down. Are you clear about this now? So ये हो गया intercropping. I did not show you. Mixed cropping. I'm yet to show you mixed cropping.
I didn't quite get it.
What did you not get it?
That if A, B, and C have.
I said, when I am talking about nutrient A, what did I write here? If the nutrient requirements for all the 3 crops are exactly the same, then there is a big competition for all the 3. Then there is a big competition for all the 3. Chalo, now I am saying that we require sodium and chlorides also, but zinc also, and manganese also, and sulfur also. And C needs sodium and okay, chalo potassium hai, and then chlorides hai, and then fluorine hai, and then copper hai, and then iron hai. So what is the condition you see here? That yes, 2 or 3 nutrients are common. But there are so many other nutrients which are different. So, अगर ऐसा है, I'm choosing 3 crops which are exactly same in their nutrient requirements. Then there is a big competition.
If they are exactly the same, then there is competition.
Then some of the plants will obviously suffer from stunted growth. So maybe one type of plant will grow, another one or two will not grow properly. But
they are different.
If the nutrient requirements are as such, common nutrients तो होगा ही. in the soil when 4 types of crops are growing, 4 types of plants are growing, common requirements तो होगा ही. But even though there are some common requirements, there should be some different requirements also. Then they can more or less grow properly. But if this is intercropping, then what is mixed cropping? Mixed cropping means I am dividing the entire plot of land something like this. I am dividing the entire plot of land something like this, where maybe now I am growing some guava, I am growing some pear here, I am growing some apples here, and then again I am growing some apples here. Maybe now at one part of the land where there is little bit of waterlogging, I may do little bit of fish farming, you will come across. And then I will now talk about some part again used for growing some spinach, provided they have to be all available almost at the same season, more or less growing in the same type of soil. So these properties would remain the same. But what am I doing? Am I following a particular pattern? No, there is no particular pattern. It's 4 or 5 types of plants grown together. 4 or 5 types of plants grown in certain cases, along with plants in some small waterlogged area of the same soil. Fish farming also can be done. Integrated farming. So this is the first concept that you understand. What is the difference? Now you understand what is the difference between inter and mixed.
In mixed, there isn't a particular pattern.
There is no, so from the term itself, it is a mixed pattern. Only something to take care of is, now can we talk about growing wheat, paddy and say suppose wheat, paddy and apples together? No, that cannot be grown. Can I think of growing maize and pea together? No, that these are absolutely 2 different type of crops and 2 different type of seasons we get. We get corn in the monsoon and we get pea in the now in the dry season, no, winter time. So that of course you cannot grow. Almost in the same season it should be, same nutrient, same type of soil it should be, and nutrient requirements roughly same. Should not be exactly same. What is the question I'm asking you? What is the difference between intercropping and mixed cropping? Can you write 2 points now? What to write?
Intercropping are in a pattern.
In intercropping, the crops are grown in a definite pattern. 3 or 4 types of crops are grown in a definite pattern. What about mixed cropping? In mixed cropping, 3 or 4 types of crops, even more also, 3 or 4 types of crops can be grown in a random pattern. In just randomly they are no definite arrangement should be there.
Intercropping same and in mixed cropping random.
In not same, in a definite pattern. Definite, it has to be specific pattern. That is intercropping. Either you divide the land this way or you divide the land. And if I'm talking about this is what is inter. And what is mixed cropping? Likho, please. Intercropping likha.
Yes.
Growing crops, growing 2-3 types of crops in a definite pattern. Growing 2 to 3 types of crops in a definite pattern. Definite pattern. And when you talk about fatafat, likho fast.
Second point.
And only 2 or 3 are there in intercropping.
Huh?
Only 2 or 3.
No, there can be many 5-6 types of crops. This is just an example. 2-3 के जगह तो 5-6 भी लिखो. That's not wrong. Second part, mixed cropping. Mixed cropping में क्या लिखना है? Different types of crops can be grown in a random pattern, in a random manner.
Second point is the example.
Examples are never differences. Examples कभी भी differences नहीं होगा. Mixed cropping में लिखो different types of crops are grown in a random manner. Random. What happened? He will go for a singing competition. You give me those tickets. I'm very fond of singing. I'll come and I'll be your audience. Don't worry. But now they don't love singing. No, we don't disturb them. Huh? They are not at all fond of singing.
Intercropping का second.
आर्यन तुमको अच्छा लगता है singing? अच्छा अरमान. जब तुम 10th में जाओगे ना then I will remember your name. बोलो.
Second point of intercropping.
लिखा? First point all of it done. Let us write down the second difference. For second difference, intercropping and mixed cropping. What should you write?
Intercropping.
For intercropping, what did I tell you? Intercropping, mixed
The
cropping.
nutrients should be roughly similar in intercropping.
That is more or less the same when we are talking about inter and mix. वो point तो same है, लगभग same है.
Intercropping, they should not be similar.
Intercropping, the crops can be different now.
Nutrients.
See, when I talk about intercropping, intercropping is basically done for few types of crops. Few types.
Not all.
I talk about 3-4 types and different rows. Mixed cropping, more types. So that is again one. When I talk about nutrients, ये property तो इसके लिए भी applicable है, इसके लिए भी applicable है. When I
Main objective is utilizing the nutrients
of the soil.
like mixed cropping, preventing the failure of the crop.
Not to
Preventing failure of crops यहाँ पे भी है. Then why they are growing? अच्छा, let us write down the next difference, right? I'll give you 3 differences. उसमें से याद करके लिखो. Number 2 for intercropping. Intercropping, second difference. 2 to 3 types of crops can be grown or are grown. 2 to 3 types of crops. Fewer types of crops are grown in intercropping. 2 to 3 types of crops are grown. For mixed cropping, likho. Mixed cropping. More types of crops are grown by this method. More types of crops, meaning more than 3, 4, 5 also can be grown when you talk about mixed types of farming. Third point.
More types of crops are grown.
In mixed farming, more types of crops are grown together during mixed farming in this method. Come to the third difference. Intercropping. This method helps in utilization of nutrients. Utilization of nutrients. Utilization of nutrients and also minimizes crop failure. That is for intercropping, I'm telling you. Huh?
I didn't get how it does this.
You write for it. Other side. Mixed cropping, likho, for mixed cropping. Mixed cropping. In this method, or this method is practiced. This method is practiced for best utilization of nutrients. For best utilization of nutrients. Best utilization of nutrients, comma, reduces crop failure and also reduces crop failure and also increasing productivity of various types at the same time. Productivity of various types of crops at the same time. Productivity of various types of crops at the same time. Did you finish writing?
Yes, ma'am.
So now,
At same time. Same time.
Productivity of at the same time. So why this method is more advantageous, actually much better than this method, because in this method few points are same, but in this method, yes, if the farmer is selecting 3 crops and by chance one is infected by pest, at least 2 types he has. यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? The farmer has selected some 6 types of plants. And in these 6 types of plants, even if one is infected, at least he has 5 more types, because he is choosing more types of plants here, less types of. So इसमें apart from reducing the chances of failure, a student who cannot manage the books only, और क्या होगा उसके बाद and troubling the teacher every time. Okay, now next is come to this one. Here in this diagram, if you see, if I draw the section of the soil, vertical section of the layers of the soil. What is this top soil? What is this topmost layer known as? And this topmost layer, which gives rise to plants, is the humus. So what is humus? Humus is the topmost fertile layer of the soil formed by fertile. This is the most fertile layer of the soil, especially when we talk about the loamy and the black soil. The topmost fertile layer of the soil, which topmost fertile layer of the soil, which is formed by the decomposition of, plants and animal matter. Formed by the decomposition of plants and animal matter. Formed by the decomposition of plants and animal matter. So that is the blackish layer. So decomposition of plant and animal matter. Now, matter. M-A-T-T-E-R. Matter. Matter around us. Chapter now listen here. When we are talking about this humus, what is happening? If I talk about the sandy soil, did you ever come across a sandy soil with a blackish uppermost layer humus?
Yes, ma'am.
Which part of the world? Sandy soil. Sandy soil will never have humus. Sandy soil में humus कभी भी नहीं होगा.
Why humus is added to the soil?
It's not added. It is formed in the soil naturally. Humus. That is what I'm coming to the point.
What like?
This humus you will always come across in soil types which are black soil, loamy soil. Now the black soil, and loamy soil and the alluvial types of these are the most common types of soil which help in farming, allows the growth of plant. Now because this type of soil has got adequate amount of microbes which allow the process of decomposition happen. But now I talk about the sandy soil. To sandy soil maybe though some plant parts must be falling there. On the surface of the sandy soil also some leaves must be falling. Do they undergo the process of decomposition? No, they just get embedded. I can talk about on the surface of the sandy soil in a desert, dead plants must be falling there. Do they undergo the process of adequate decomposition there? No, they just get embedded and partial decomposition, but very slowly. Why? Why in the soil types like the alluvial and the loamy and the black, humus hai, and in sandy soil में कभी भी humus नहीं रहता है because these type of soil like the sandy soil they never have microbes. These type of soil microbes are absent there. But the most common type of soil in the farming land, you talk about in the garden and all. What type of soil these are? The loamy, or the alluvial, or the black. And in these type of soil only you will come across a blackish uppermost layer. If at all you happen to play with the mud and the soil there, you will come across the lower layers are not black. The lower layers are reddish or brownish. No, and the uppermost layer is black. That uppermost layer is the most fertile layer. When water is there, the nutrients get dissolved and the roots can absorb. And this is what is formed by natural process of decomposition of the plant and animal matter. Because इसमें the subsoil जो next वाला layer होता है, इसमें adequate amount of microbes are there which help in the process of decomposition. Did you write this?
What if we mix the humus and subsoil?
Not a problem because they are always very close in contact. We do mix also. Now say suppose we have those potted plants. Or the process of clogging is happening. So process of clogging में क्या हो रहा है? The subsoil and the humus is getting mixed. So it is necessary. It is good. There's nothing bad in it. Humus लिखा सबने. What is humus? Now let us write down. What are some of the features of organic farming? What are the features? Number one.
Minimal or no use of chemical fertilizers.
Minimum. What are the features? Let us write down 2 or 3 features. Number one. The first point you write. Minimum or no use of minimum. Did you write? 3 points. A big paragraph here. Very good. Number one. minimum or
खुद से भी लिखा
हाँ
खुद से भी लिखा
खुद से भी लिखा है
ये मतलब
minimum on
खुद से भी लिखा
learn how to trust people. Now, minimum or no use of fertilizers for growing crops. So that's the first one. Minimum or no use of fertilizers for growing crops for organic farming. Number two. Number two, remember these words. Number two, for protecting the crops, weedicides or pesticides should not be used. Weedicides. Okay. Weedicides, pesticides should not be used. Rather bioagents such as blue-green algae, neem or turmeric can be used. What are these pesticides or weedicides for? Protection, no? Protecting the plant so that other different type of weeds or some pest doesn't affect the plant. So normally what would happen? Some spray of weedicides and pesticides would be done. Weeds are growing, these are spores which are present in the air and they get deposited on the soil and they start growing because they are getting so much of nutrients. But that is not the plant we want to grow. These are unwanted plants. So is it harmful because they are competing with the nutrients, no? They are competing with the nutrients and taking away the nutrients. So the main plant that you want to grow will not show that much of vigor. Third point.
No, second you did not complete.
What was that?
Or turmeric, neem or turmeric
Can be used. Third point. Green manure can be formed or are formed. Green manure are formed by mixing the weeds. By mixing weeds with the soil, making the soil even more fertile. Making soil even more fertile. Okay, now the next concept that we are going to study, I think this I did not complete that. Crop rotation. Now, what is crop rotation? Crop rotation is a concept here. Say suppose I'll give you a break after some time. Let me just finish this topic, then I'll give you a break. Next lecture also today biology, no? So happy, no? No, nobody is happy. You are happy now.
Happy.
Very happy. Chemistry you cannot survive. Maths नहीं है तो survive कर पाओगे?
Yes, miss.
अभी लग रहा है क्योंकि पेरेंट्स पीछे खड़े हैं इसीलिए जिसके पेरेंट्स पीछे से सपोर्ट नहीं रहेगा विदाउट मैथ्स कैन यू सर We now talk about crop rotation. Try to understand what is crop rotation. Crop rotation is quite different from this concept of intercropping, mixed cropping that we studied. Crop rotation क्या है? We are talking about a plot of land. Now in this plot of land, maybe now 2 or 3 types of crops are grown. Maybe now already the land is divided into 3 types, 3 plots. and then here A is grown, B is grown, C is grown, any of the methods. Now what is happening in this entire season, something around, season means what do you understand by plant season, growing season, roughly around 7-8 months of the year, no? Roughly around from the sowing of the seeds to the process of harvesting, roughly around 6 to 7 months. Before that, the process of growth never completes. So now, in this half of the year roughly, the farmer has been giving productivity of A and B and C. What about the fertility of the soil at the time of harvest? Now, abhi pura growth complete ho chuka hai and harvest time is now for all the 3 crops. So, after the harvest, what about the characteristic of the land? The land is still rich in nutrients? No. After the harvest, the nutrient level of the land has gone down. So, generally or mostly, what has been done is that in the next season now, say suppose monsoon time is over and now the winter time. So again the farmer will divide the land, grow again D, E, F. But what about the nutrient? Because nutrient levels almost used up ho chuka hai. So most of the time what they will do is fertilizer. So now proportionately if I talk about that in a lesser proportion, some breeders, farmers, what they do is, instead of now applying fertilizers and growing another 3 type of plants, what they would do is grow 1 type of plants only, legumes. What are legumes? Legumes are plants like beans or pea or gram or lentils. These are called legumes. What is the special property of the legumes? Kisko yaad hai? Yes.
And at the roots of root nodules, they have a bacteria called.
So now I am talking about ye hai legumes, a particular type of a plant. I talk about the pea plant or the gram or any of this type of plant. Now what is happening? They have a profuse root system, and in this root system there will be whole lot of some clusters of bacteria. So this bacteria, these are known as nitrogen fixing bacteria. And what is this bacteria doing? This bacteria is converting the atmospheric nitrogen. Molecular nitrogen, can the plants take? No, they cannot take. Though the plants are exposed to a huge amount of nitrogen, can they take it? They cannot take it. So this nitrogen has to be dissolved in the soil water. And in what form? They have to be somehow converted into nitrates, which this bacteria can do. And then it can be absorbed by the roots. And it now goes up. And is this nitrogen of any use to the plant actually? Yes, huge amount of usage. When I talk about the first thing, the chlorophyll that we know cannot be formed in the plant cells without nitrogen.
But then nitrogen will divide into nitrates and then nitrites.
So that is when I talk about the entire cycle, that these nitrates would be now in the process of absorption, and in that process they will again get broken down to nitrites. First of all, they get converted into nitrates, and then go to the soil. And again, when this plant is undergoing the process of decomposition, then they get converted into ammonia. Again, they come back to the soil. So that is the cycle that is going on. So now what are we learning? We are learning a concept known as crop rotation, that is in one land, in one season grow certain crops, and in the next part of the year grow only legumes. So now when this farmer is growing such type of plants, almost for about September, October, November, December, January, February. So in this 5 months, he is getting a productivity also of such type of plants. Huge amount of tea. That's the reason in this season we get also this type of crops more. So now that we are talking about that huge amount of the cereals and the legumes and the beans are grown. So by the time the next season now, this soil by the time March and April, by the time the soil is rich with nutrients also, productivity also, and the soil is ready for other type of crops also. So which is a beneficial method? Grow A, B, C, and then next season D, E, F with fertilizer or without fertilizer this? Without fertilizer this. So in this method, the benefit is you are getting also 3-4 types of crops, and you are getting the soil naturally fertile also, naturally made fertile. So that is known as crop rotation. That is known as crop rotation. Come to the next concept. We talk about crop protection. Now, how can we talk about protection? Just now we were talking about. Does the plants get affected by different type of weeds? Yes, the plants get affected by so many different type of weeds. Underline karo. 1 2 examples you are asked in your exam also. Underline 1 or 2 examples of weeds. Which are some of the common examples? Xanthium, Parthenium. Underline. Xanthium, Parthenium. These are certain type of weeds which easily affect the stem, leaves, and start boring on them. Eat away the leaves, make holes in the stem, and that results in improper growth of the plant.
Ma'am, weeds are animal or plants?
Weeds are plants.
Now, how they
When we are talking about weeds are plants. There are so many other type of bugs. There are so many different type of insects also. When we are talking about, they may parasites. These are parasites. Certain type of plants which are weeds, the roots may start boring into another stem. Parasitic plants, these are also called, and they suck the plant cells suck from the other plant. So when I talk about the weeds are generally unwanted plants or other different type of insect forms also. Bolo.
Why aren't fungus and weeds categorized in the same?
No, weeds are majorly plants, and in the aquatic environment, weeds can be also submerged. Fungus is an absolutely different type of an organism. Fungus is basically grown in the site of the
Mushroom is a plant only.
No, who said mushroom is a plant? Mushroom is a fungus. Mushroom is not a plant at all. Mushroom is a fungus. The mushroom that you eat, that is a culturable mushroom, the culturable fungus. That is fungus. That's not a plant at all.
What is cultural?
Culturable means which is done in the farm, which is not grown in the decomposing area. There are so many types of mushrooms which are naturally growing in the land. In the decomposing area, can we just pick them
How
up?
are mushrooms grown there if not?
They are grown in the soil, that is known as a soil bed. Not exactly on the soil like the plants grow. They are made a bed of soil, little bit of soil, and then a whole lot of nutritive straw material, and then some gram brands are there, some powdered gram is used. So there's a typical farm bed made for growing the mushroom. So that is generally known. There are different methods also for growing. It's not like typical growing the plant. The plant grows from a seed. Does a mushroom grow from a seed? No, it doesn't grow from a seed. That's an absolutely different method. So the mushrooms are never plants at all. Now here you have to talk about that. What are some methods that you can get rid of weeds? Number one, I said plants may be affected by very different type of parasites, weeds. Underline some examples. I already told you some examples. And now here we are going to talk about that. What would be some disadvantages? Okay, let us take some points there. You take some points. What are some of the disadvantages? Why should we not allow weeds?
Weeds take up nutrients and reduce the
Growth of the main plant. Even in your small those plants in the windowsill, did you ever observe? Say suppose now I talk about growing the money plants. Did you ever observe there in that same pot some grass-like, long, tall, grass-like plants are coming up? In the tulsi plants also. Now we have got the tulsi plant. Near the roots on the lower, I mean they are very small, very short. But you will observe that there are small plants coming up. So should we allow them to grow? No, immediately just uproot or just mix them. When you are mixing them with the soil, what you are making?
manure.
Green manure you are making. You are not uprooting them. You are not uprooting and throwing them. You are just allowing the soil only to get mixed with the unwanted weeds. So in that process, what are you doing? Allowing your main plants now to get the nourishment. If you allow the weeds to grow, the weeds also would eat away so much of the nourishment, and your plant would not grow adequately. Follow.
Turn on.
Off. Is it too cold? Who is feeling cold?
Who is feeling cold?
Huh? हाँ
अभी आता हवा ही नहीं आ रहा
वहाँ तक हवा नहीं आ रही है
नहीं यहाँ कैसे
चालू ही नहीं है सिर्फ एक ही चालू है।
एकदम नहीं लग रहा है।
कौन बोल रहा है?
मैम इसको सबसे ज्यादा ठंडी लगी है।
I don't know what is happening to this generation. The girls are getting colder and the boys are becoming so hot nowadays. Huh? You are feeling hot? How come she's feeling cold and you, the breeze is not touching you also?
Not that cold.
Chalo, we'll complete with this and then I'll give you a break. So during the break, you do whatever. Now let us talk about this. The control measures. What are some of the control measures? See here. What is the best way of removal of the weeds? If you get a question, what is the best way of removal of the weeds?
Having them around to make.
Either you approve. What are some of the common way of weed control? Two most important ways that you should remember. What are some of the common ways of weed control? Uprooting them. Or just now I told you.
Mixing them in the
Mixing them in the soil to make green. These are the two main methods. Right, whatever. Mention two prominent ways of weed control. Mention two prominent ways of weed control. Number one, second standard, fourth standard. आपको फटाफट लिखना है.
Ways of
Weed control. What is getting into form? Mention two ways of weed control. अगर 10th में तुम लोगों का sheet ऐसा रहा तो 10th तक syllabus खत्म. Mention two ways of weed control. Number one, uprooting the weeds from the soil. Uprooting the weeds. Oh, sir, you have not even started. Second point, mixing the weeds with the soil. Mixing the weeds with the soil to make green manure. Mixing the weeds with the soil to make green manure.
Yes, ma'am.
Should we apply weedicides to kill them? No, we should not. We should try not to use weedicides to kill them. Take a break, breathe for 5 minutes, and then after that you can Please.
आर्यन को बेसिक
अबे यार गिरा हुआ है कल ऐसे गिरा हुआ है.
लगाओ
अरे यार I'm inspired by you. अरे यार inspired by you. हरप्रीत सिंह और फ्रेंड हला. क्या बोल रहे हैं?
हमको लेके
भैया आओ ना
Yeah.